Hi, welcome to Ocean Yemi's channel. So I'm just gonna play a little bit of this. Hold up, wait a minute.
Alright, they had bird
What did it do? These things have been playing up every time I wanna play something. Hold on a minute.
bird oh, down, well now, go ahead and marry, don't shy. Wait on me, alright. Go ahead and marry, don't shy. Wait on me, well now, when I won't show it, I go free. When I won't show it, I go free. Well now, come on, double know this. Oh, Lord, yeah. Oh, Lord, burn up. Oh, Lord, yeah. Raise 'em up higher, let 'em drop on down. Raise 'em up higher, let 'em drop on down. Well, now, I'm on a Parchman, got work on me. Oh, I'm on a Parchman, got work on me. Well, now, oh, I bird, oh, Lord, yeah, oh, I bird, oh, Lord, yeah. Well, now, when you my falling man, every day Monday, in your hand. Well, now, when you marry, railroad man, every day Sunday night, in your hand. Well, now, Albert, oh, Lord, yeah, Albert. Come on, play some piano. You play piano. Come on, play. I want to hear you play. Oh, shoot.
So hi, welcome to Ocean Yemi. So today I'm actually going to take on this review of the piano lesson. Now, I keep hearing about it, sometimes like you keep hearing about certain stuff, and then I finally got a chance to watch it. Now, from what I see, it's about legacy, history, ancestors, knowing of your ancestries and stuff like that. The importance of having legacy. Now, the importance of having legacy is through the piano. The piano is very important in this whole movie. Why I say it's important? Because of how it was made. First, it was made, and then the I would say the legacy, or the person in the past, when he carved the piano, he carved all the ancestors into the piano. It also leads to a story of how the piano became to get to the family presence. Now, I also looked at a whole heap of stuff, because what I did recognize for that tune, what they were singing, that it was a tune from the Chain Gang, as well. Or I mean, I would say it is music from the soul, and there's loads of historical stuff that is significant in the movie. Now, I really should get this lady that I watched, and she actually breaks down the piano so eloquently. Like, I don't even think I could do it justice. So I'm gonna see if I could find her, because she breaks it down so eloquently. Because if I tried to break it down, I'll be doing it an injustice. Let me see if I could find it. I hope it's not on that other channel. I'll be watching different things, you know? Because she broke it down. Oh, here it is. I got it. Okay, so I'm going to go to this lady because I have used her before in the past. She breaks it down very Queen Paw, I think her name is. She breaks it down. So I'm not going to do it an injustice. I'm going to let this lady lead for me, and then I'll just come in when I need to, because um, she covers a few things. What the piano's, the significance of the piano, the significance of the song, the significance of lots of things. So let me just get it lined up. Okay, so here we go.
The piano. The piano carries a lot of ancestral energy because their father fought for the piano and was actually burned to unaliving in a boxcar over this piano. Now, the reason this piano is such a spiritual tool is because Bernice was told that when you play the piano, it conjures the ancestral energy, it conjures the energy of the spirits. But Boy Willie wants to sell the piano to get some land. And he believes that if his father knew what he could trade the piano for today, he would have been okay with them selling it. But Bernice ain't willing to let the piano go easy. For her, this is a family heirloom. For her, this is her connection to her ancestors, and she ain't letting it go that easy. And in the piano, the faces of each of their ancestors are carved into the piano. So think about it. This piano carries the spiritual energy of the ancestors, as well as the physical representation of the ancestors. Now, when we think about that on a spiritual level, we know that playing vibration, you could beat a drum, you can ring a bell, you can play a piano. The sounds of vibration naturally calls on the ancestors. And to have this piano, which their ancestors fought for, carries the ancestral energy and has their faces carved into it, you can only imagine the spiritual energy that is connected to this piano. And that's why Bernice ain't willing to let it go so easy. Although she doesn't necessarily like to play it because she kind of fears conjuring that ancestral energy, she knows that the power of her ancestors are in it. Therefore, she wants to hold on to it. But Boy Willie said he'll rather get that land because that land means more than just the piano. He feels like that land is a representation of power. That land is a representation of abundance that his father would have really wanted, as opposed to this piano. And it's not a bad thing, y'all. For him, the representation of power, abundance, and freedom lies in the land. At that time, he realizes that it was the piano, and the piano meant a lot. But now, today, it means the land. Another powerful representation of abundance in this film is the watermelon. They intentionally showed Boy Willie and his friend Lyman selling watermelon, which was a form of currency in abundance back in the day. Oftentimes, we hear this stereotype that Black people love chicken and watermelon. But the reason that the watermelon stereotype is connected to Black people is because we were known for being prosperous due to our ability to cultivate, grow, and sell the watermelon. So I love that they showed the watermelon in this film, because think about it. August Wilson's play is 3 hours. They had to cut some things out in order to really be able to have a film that wasn't too long, especially according to today's standards. This film is 2 hours, so they had to cut out an hour worth of material, yet they still chose to intentionally show them selling the watermelon, selling what was once considered abundance by our ancestors, which is a beautiful thing. And on top of that, they showed him salting the watermelon as he was selling it to the wife. They showed him salting that watermelon. And if you are from the South or have family from the South like I do, baby, you know that salt on that watermelon is a thing. My granddaddy would salt his watermelon down. And I used to be like, Granddaddy, why are you putting salt on your watermelon? He like, this is how we used to eat it. It's just little things like this that show the ancestral connection, remembering their stories, venerating them, and how they did things, how they ate things, what they sold, what they grew, what they cultivated, what were their forms and symbols of abundance that represented them back then. And these are things that you can put on your ancestor altar today when you want to venerate your ancestors. And speaking of ancestor veneration, let's get into this scene, this beautiful live juke joint scene where Erykah Badu is playing the queen of the dance hall, okay, the queen of the juke joint, and everybody is coming together and they are vibing and they are thriving and they are dancing and having a good time. Think about this picture, just this shot alone. Doesn't this look like a lot of classic Black paintings that many of us had in our homes that were also featured in beautiful shows like Good Times? Isn't this so reminiscent? So this is a reminder that our ancestors found joy even in stifling times, even in times where they were oppressed. In many ways, we are still oppressed, but they were able to find joy through Black music, through arts, through dancing, and all of that. This is all a part of Black culture. Again, a very intentional shot and choice to keep in the film. Now, of course, we got to give love, respect, and pay homage to the legend himself, Samuel L. Jackson, who is playing Doker. Doker is the uncle of Boy Willie and Bernice, and he is the one who's trying to keep the peace between the two. Bernice's husband transitioned, and her daughter Maritha moved in with Doker. So he's like the protective uncle, and he stepped in the place of their father when their father transitioned. His whole job is to try to kind of mediate and keep the peace between Boy Willie and Bernice, while also telling the truth about the fact that this piano is valuable, spiritually valuable. It's not just a thing that you go and sell. So he's trying to respect Bo Willie as a man, but also respect the ancestral connection of the piano. And again, speaking of ancestor veneration.
So I'm going to play something as well before she speaks. Let me reach it. The movie was so good. Even I'm like, I'm going to go watch it again. Let me see. That is such a powerful scene. That part there, right? That part and the part where she calls on the ancestors is the most powerful. There's powerful scenes in a few parts of it. Now, I didn't know about August, the guy who wrote the play, because when I looked at it, I said, man, this looks like a play. You know what I'm saying? And I did not realize it's from a play to a movie. So when I realized when she said that, I said, oh, that's why it looked like that. So when I listen, you know, when you listen to certain stuff, you get goosebumps, and you're thinking, wow, like, you know, just them men singing like that in unison together. I said, wow. So I went to look to find out where it was linked to, and I found that it's a Chain Gang song. Okay, so because there was loads of chain gangs, and I think that they refer to it as well, the Chain Gang prison songs, as they're hitting the iron, or they're hitting the different parts of the rhythm as they are singing in all together, like in sync with each other. So I'm gonna find another one. Hold on. I don't even know whether it's gonna play it, you know, but I'm gonna try. And Sam Cooke also did a Chain Gang song. So it just shows like everything, the way how this writer thought was just wow, he had me he had me researching, like, and that's what I like. I like when a movie have you looking up stuff, because the more you understand of the people, right? And really, this is part of, I know people ain't into certain stuff. This is part of the Sankofa, you see, because people don't know who they're linked to, what they're linked to, and everything else. When you hear certain songs, right now, when I used to listen to Sam Cooke and I heard the and then I realized more when I looked it up again somewhere else, and they took out the backing music and just the sound of that song, that music as they're hitting the train lines or whatever they're working on. Now it's like that part of the movie took you to another place. And if you have watched the piano, it takes you to all different places, because like you, even the one watching the one watching, as you're watching, even when they come and they burn the house, when they move out the piano, because at first right, at first you just think, okay, it's just a piano lesson they're gonna have, that's it. So when they move at the piano, and what had to be done for them, for that slave owner to get the piano, she sold all of the slaves, or the master sold the slaves so that he can get the piano. He sold 30 people. I think it's 30 people in his, on his compound, on his plantation, to get the piano. Then the next thing, she wanted carvings on there, because no, she was playing it, and then when she played it, and then she started missing the ones, that the maids and all that she had enslaved. So then then um then they asked one of the enslaved ones to carve on the carve images of her slaves that had left. Now, when even when they appear, you can see the faces of them, and the representation of them, and you are like, you feel like, you say to yourself, wow, that's just confirmation, the powers of them, because even when they try to exercise the house to get rid of the guy, the preacher got weak. So when she called on her ancestors, and the ancestors appeared, putting their hand on her shoulder, on each other, linking up, family tree, linking up, and then you see that he goes in flames, because the one who came for the piano, he was holding him up by the neck. It's like a poltergeist. He was like a poltergeist, right? He frightened the girl as well. You see the water, because apparently he fell in the well, and no one knew how he fell in the well. So basically, when she called on the ancestors, she called on their help. And you can feel the power in that scene at that moment, because that was a powerful scene. I would love to know how it looked on theater. I would love to know how it looked, because, and then like you see from the smallest one to the oldest appear, and then they put their hand on her, and they linked up, and then you knew within yourself what was going on. If you know about ancestors and ancestor worship and certain stuff, right? When you call on an ancestor or ancestors, they are powerful beings. I will say they're powerful, because they are not spirit. They're not spirit. I don't think they're spirit. I think what they do, they are around you, however you want to term it. And it was so powerful, and especially when she kept strunging the keys, Now, Queen does actually refer to the instruments that you can call on, to call on them, to call them in, to call them in, to call them in, to call them in, to call them in. Mind you, right, you also have to research the ancestors before you call them in, because like, for all you know, right, you call in one that is not a good person or whatever. And she called them in, and right then you felt that moment, like, wow, it was just so, it was quick at first. It seemed like it was so quick, it happened so quick. And I feel that how, when they did that scene, I was wondering to myself, when they did that scene, how it felt being there doing that scene, like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, wow, right? But back to the piano. After the enslaved carved the piano, carved the images on there, the master wife was mad. But then, like, but in her mind, she had her slaves embedded in her piano, you know, so they were still enslaved in the piano. And I'm just like, um, sometimes, right, you pick up stuff and you don't know where's it linked to, like the spirit in which it carries within the, like, resonates within the item, right? So you might buy something in a secondhand shop or thrift shop, and you don't know. And that, I think the way how they show that just shows that how, right, you don't know what's in the item. And the fact that how it was an inheritance as well. Now, many of us do not have inheritance of our ancestors. It's like, so for some of us, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. It's like we got to form a legacy so that we can leave behind for the ones coming. So I was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? It's like I said, I'm just like, another thing I wanted to show. Oh no, hold on. I don't think she got to the good part yet. Hold on. Because she talks about them singing as well.
There is a scene in the film where Whining Boy, who is an old blues musician who has since stopped playing the piano and singing due to personal reasons, including grief and depression, and Lyman, who is Boy Willie's best friend, along with Boy Willie and Doker, are sitting around the table building, as a lot of our brothers do. They're building and they're talking and expressing and sharing their thoughts and feels, and then they get into that old foot stomping, singing, blues making, ancestral calling, ring, shout, and vibration of song. They get into it. That is ancestor veneration. Now, not only is Bernice upset with Boy Willie for trying to come and snatch this piano to trade it off for some land, but she's also very suspicious, and she thinks that Boy Willie had something to do with the sudden unaliving of Sutter, who is
Hold up, let's go back. I have to cut that bit out, but it's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
photography to highlight a lot of these August Wilson signatures and really drive home some of the main points of this play. I again want to give a lot of love to the entire Washington family who all played a pivotal role in the becoming. And she had to really give this monologue because Avery, the pastor, tried to push up on Bernice. And when she told him no, he essentially.
We're doctors, Saddam Hussein, cosmetic dentist.
Saddam Hussein.
Based on her ability to have a man. And she was like, why is my worthiness of womanhood, why is my worthiness as a human being based on you? Honey, ain't I a woman with or without a man? Everybody questions Bernice's value, but ain't I a woman? Ain't I worthy? Ain't I capable? Honey, this monologue moment was a reminder that this is Bernice's story. Now let's get into the spirituality because I know that's what you're here for. First, we got to get into the little yin and yings that were strategically placed around the house to remind you that, baby, this is a hoodoo home. This is a root working home. First and foremost, did you peep the mini brooms hanging hanging above the sink next to the window. Traditionally, in hoodoo culture and root working culture, brooms were known to keep the haints away. Haints are essentially bad spiritual energies. So the brooms keep the haints away. But wait, there was more haint dispelling little yin yin yings around the house. Did you peep the haint blue doors? Did you peep the haint blue doors? Haint blue is a color that was made from indigo, which was a cash crop our ancestors were forced to cultivate when they were enslaved. Haint blue was known for keeping the haints away. So a lot of the thresholds, doors, porches, homes as a whole would be painted haint blue in order to keep the haints, the negative spirit energies, away from the home. In the film, the doors, the thresholds, and I think even a wall was painted haint blue. Again, it's the little things you gotta see. Did you peep the bushel of herbs in front of the mirror? See, mirrors are known as spiritual portals. It was quite common to keep a bushel of rosemary or bay leaf or thyme and other protective herbs in front of your mirrors, aka your spiritual portals, in order to mine the energy that is encapsulated, that is enchanted in that mirror. Be mindful of your portals, be mindful of your thresholds. And then another good thing about this is that these bushel of herbs also serve as a smell good, as a potpourri of sorts for the home. You can add rose, you can add lavender, you can add lemon peel, you can add pine in order to bring abundance energy and encapsulate that energy in your mirror as well. So protect your mirror and enchant them with energy of abundance. Now, keep in mind, this whole movie is centered around this piano, which is a spiritual portal within itself. The piano is how they connect to and conjure up their ancestors. Why? Because in the piano, their grandfather, Willie Boy, carved the faces of their ancestors in their stories into the piano. On the side of the piano, this is their ancestors jumping the broom, which was a Black traditional way to signify marriage. Another very spiritual thing and Black cultural thing is the fact that Bernice and Willie Boy are named after their ancestors. They're named after their grandparents. Naming your children after ancestors carries a lot of spiritual energy. They carry the energy of those ancestors, carrying on their legacy, but also being protected by their ancestors. The ancestors that they're named after, they usually serve as their spirit guide. So if you are named after an ancestor of yours, trust their spiritual energy is with you. Now, keep in mind, the ghost of Sutter is haunting the home that Bernice, Uncle Joker, and now Boy Willie are living in, along with Bernice's daughter, Maritha. Sutter is the head of the white family that took the piano in the first place and did all this foolishness, okay? He was suddenly unalived by drowning in his well. Anytime his spirit shows up, you see a puddle of water. That is significant to the fact that he was unalived by the water. Water plays a huge role in this film. Let's get into that. When Bernice was feeling overwhelmed because of the haunting of the ghost of Sutter, the foolishness that Boy Willie was conjuring up and all of that, trying to sell the piano and all of that, sis was sick and tired of being sick and tired. She drew her a spiritual bath. She drew that water, she lit her candle, she soaked in that water, and she drew her a spiritual bath. And while she was in that spiritual bath, she started reflecting. She started doing somewhat of an ancestor walk, per se. And she started reflecting on her time with her husband when they were in the water. Remember, Bernice's husband Crawley was unalived while he was trying to hit a liquid Boy Willie. While she was in that spiritual bath, cleansing herself, cleansing her spiritual energy, she started having flashbacks of herself and Crawley bathing in the river while she was pregnant with their daughter, who is Maritha, that lives in the home with them today. Another beautiful cultural moment is this hot comb moment when Bernice, the mama, is hot combing her baby Maritha's hair, and peep them brooms in the background protecting that home. Another August Wilson signature that I think a lot of people don't often catch is that he often incorporates a character that is on the spectrum of mental wellness, of learning wellness, of ability, right? Sometimes he will have a character who has some type of physical, mental, or learning disability. And he does this in a way that he humanizes them, right? Like Lyman, who was the friend of Boy Willie, who Boy Willie was clearly taken advantage of, who also Whining Boy took advantage of. Lyman just wanted love and companionship like any other human, and he had a little crush on Bernice. In this scene, when he kind of shot his shot with Bernice, when he kind of pushed up on Bernice, he did it in a beautiful, authentic, healthy way and respected her no, like any other healthy human. Now, without further ado, let's get into the big Black cultural, spiritual.
Now, this part here, I tell you, it's good. You see, when people write good movies, good stories, and you are encapsulated by it. This also reminds me of how I felt about the Black Cake as well. The series is just like even though it is to do with the diaspora, but sometimes I feel that how right our stories are really intertwined with the American story as well in certain parts, in certain things, you know. So this part I feel definitely really hit the spot for me. It did. I definitely felt this part. I don't know about anybody else. I felt this part. I know I see a few people talking on this part, but I did not see why they were talking about it. Then when I went and I looked at it and I saw it, and you do feel the vibe of them coming true, like literally coming true. Well, it's on the screen, but literally it's like they're in the room with you as she's punging the piano. You literally feel that they're standing right there next door to you as she is calling on them. I don't know how anybody else feel. That's how I feel anyway. So if you did watch the movie, right, and you felt certain stuff, because it's a journey of a family story. It is really like that, but it's like you are part of the story as well, right? So because even I was getting mad with the guy constantly asking about the piano. He wanted to pay it off and all this part and all that, but then when the uncle told the story to the origin of the piano, you got more of an understanding to why Bernice wanted to keep it. You got more of an understanding, and the more you understood, the more as you got more and more into the movie, right? You understand. Then when Stutter, when he kept coming up, because I thought it was a black dude at first. I didn't clock it was a white dude, but when Bernice first sees him standing in the hallway, all right, and she was scared witless, right? It's like he was just hovering around, because he had an attachment to that piano. His attachment was so strong. He was hovering in her house that even Boy Willie was like, how can he come from wherever to here? Spirit travels, basically. Spirit travels, you know what I'm saying? So, like, there's that understanding, and I can't wait to hear what Washington is gonna say about the movie, because I'm actually gonna play him and how he came to play, to do certain parts, because I love to hear how they what made him decide to make the movie in the first place. And yes, it is good that the whole of the Washington family had a part to play in the movie, because it's family anyway. The movie's about family, and a family is the one who played a part in producing it and bringing it to the screen. So let her talk a little more.
Root working hoodoo moments of this film, which is when Bernice used that portal, that piano, to conjure up her ancestors and save her family, as Black women often do. Now, remember in part one when I told y'all that one of August Wilson's signatures is to show brother circles and sister circles where they sit around and they have beautiful, emotionally intelligent conversations. They unpack their trauma and also break out into spiritual. Remember, I pointed out how Whining Boy is an old blues musician who's known for singing and playing the piano, but he stopped doing it due to grief and depression. Well, baby, Whining Boy was actually one of the first ones to open up that portal. whining boy came in the house tipsy, a little more than tipsy, while Bernice and Boy Willie was arguing over the piano. Boy Willie and his friend Lyman was trying to snatch the piano up out of there, and Bernice had to protect her home. She went and grabbed that blicky, okay, and she said, y'all ain't taking nothing out of nowhere. Whining boy just stumbled up in the house causing a ruckus. And note he said, as long as Bernice is here, I got somewhere to stay, which again emphasizes the fact that the Black woman is the foundation for the home. She is the structure, the nurturing energy. But who was protecting her? Bernice kept asking Doka to get him to leave. And Doka was like, I can't do that. I can't get him to leave. So Bernice had the right to tell people and to allow people to stay in her home. But when asking Boy Willie to get out, she had no power. Again, who protects the Black woman? So Bernice went and got her blicky to stop Boy Willie and Lyman from taking that piano. Whiner boy stumbled in that house and he got on the piano and started singing. Remember, he had stopped for a while. He starts singing, which opens up that spiritual portal, and then all the things happen. Now, keep in mind, the ghost of Sutter is hunting this home now, and when he shows up, he's leaving puddles of water and calling the name Boy Willie. It is believed that Boy Willie is the one who unalived Sutter, but they're saying it was the ghost of the yellow dog. Now, the ghost of the yellow dog is believed to be the spirit of Bernice's father and the other men who were burned to unaliving in the boxcar. Okay, they believe that that spiritual energy, the ghost of the yellow dog, is the one who's responsible for accidentally unaliving the men who were involved or caused the burning in the first place, including Sutter, which is why Sutter's ghost is coming back. Now, some believe the ghost of the yellow dog is actually Boy Willie. Others believe that the ghost of the yellow dog is actually Doker and Whining Boy, who's doing the work and getting that revenge. But that's neither here nor there. Bernice just knows that she wants this ghost of Sutter out of her home and she wants her peace restored, especially after the ghost showed up to Maritha. Now, she calls on Pastor Avery to help get rid of this ghost.
Hi, Leonard. And he was so useless, this man. This man was useless. He started calling on God, okay? And I'm not slating nobody who's a Christian, okay? I ain't slating no one who's a Christian because even in the Orisha pantheons, right, they have saints as gods or African gods. So he's there trying to get rid of this ghost. And then it's like he gets weak. I said to myself, this man, he starts doing his scripture and where, because you know Psalms hold certain things, yeah. He starts, and it's like the man got weak. Anyways, Bernice got onto that piano. When she strummed that piano, when I tell you, she strummed it, and she started calling. Now, I know in churches people call on God. That I feel that's another form. You know, people don't forget the links to where things are linked to. There's a link for everything in every situation there is. So then she start and she call, because I feel that how she herself is a priestess in her own rights, right? She called on it, and the house starts shake. I tell you. But let her tell it. She might even tell it better than me. Because I was like, that. I said to myself, I said, wow. And you know, people forget the powers of ancestors and how powerful they are. Why there are powerful ancestors out there. They went through a lot in the past, right? And we are told stories of the enslaved, how they went through a lot, how they were hanged, and different things, and even in the West Indies, because I'm sure they did a lot of that in the West Indies as well. You know what I'm saying? Because remember the how right people was trying to buy their freedom in the West Indies. So Amma did example of one of them, right? So that she didn't buy the freedom of everybody, right? Till there was a revolt. So when people are calling on certain ones, and you call and you call and you call and you call, guarantee someone will come through and it will help you. There'll be assistance. But like I said, you have to, I was told a long time ago that you have, that not all ancestors are good and you have to be careful who you call. And that's a true thing. You know what I'm saying? So when she called and she called anyways, well, like I said, let Mama Paul tell you.
Come bless this house, she said, and Pastor Avery started his own Black church root working. And as we know, it's a lot of spirituality and root work in the Black church. Let's get into it. The first thing he does is he lights a white candle, hands it to Bernice, and tells her, do not let this candle go out. Now, candles are lit for multiple reasons in hoodoo, in root work, and in the church. Number one, it is a way to honor the spirits, honor the saints, honor the ancestors. Number two, it is a way to light the path between spirit realm and physical realm. Number three, it is also a source of protection, and the fire represents purification, protection, energy, right? So lighting that candle holds a lot of significance. The flame from a candle is also a good way to read whether or not spirit is present and know when spirit has left. When the flame is flickering heavy and moving fast, it is a sign that spirit is present and around and moving. But when that candle is still and calm, it is a sign that peace has been restored. Another thing he did was grab a vial of water. I told y'all water played a significant role in this film. We know holy water, blessed water. Water is known and used as a spiritual tool across many different religions and spiritual practices, but especially in hoodoo and root work. You put out water for your ancestors to honor them, to give them something to quench them on their journey as a thank you, and to represent the element of water because it is a spiritual tool. It is used for cleansing. He put out that water and was splashing that water to cleanse. Boy Willie also went and grabbed a pot of water to conjure the energy of Sutter himself. This is where he's running off to in this still shot. Now from
surprise! This Black Friday, go ad-free with ITVX.
he ended up not being able to rid the ghost of Sutter, especially after Boy Willie was conjuring him up himself and splashing the water everywhere and saying, come get me, right? So the candle ended up going out. When that candle went out, that was a sign that this is just too much for Avery to handle. And that's when Avery spoke life into Bernice and basically said, Sister Queen, you got this. You could do this. Conjure that spirit. And it's important to note that although Avery pushed up on Bernice and he was trying to get with her and she turned him down, he still reminded her that she has the spiritual power to decree and declare that this piano, this spiritual portal is used for wellness. So in this moment, he's reminding her yet again, you can do this. You are the root worker, the conjurer. You have the ability to protect your family. You are the power. While Boy Willie was upstairs getting choked out by the ghost of Sutter, Bernice was downstairs and she started playing that piano and conjuring her ancestors. She was saying them by name, Mama Esther, Papa Boy Charles, help me. And she's playing the piano as she's rocking back and forth and chanting and calling their names and conjuring them up, saying, I need you to help me. I need you to help me. I need you to help me. Calling her ancestors one by one. And baby, and they came. Her pantheon of ancestors came. She called them by name and they showed up for her. They started working for her and they protected that home. They got rid of the ghost of Sutter. Boy Willie lived to see another day. And I thought that was so interesting that she conjured that energy, conjured her ancestor energy to protect her home, her baby, and Boy Willie, even though Boy Willie was doing her wrong and wasn't respecting her. She still held held her brother down like Black women often do. Okay, them ancestors came, and to me, this is just a testament that I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. And please note that when all was said and done, that candle relit itself. The ancestors had arrived and peace was restored. I want to remind you that you too can connect with your ancestors. And just like Bernice, you don't need much. She was the chosen one in her family. All she had to do was call their names. She played that piano, that spiritual portal. She dressed in white. She lit her candle. There was water present. And she just spoke their names and they came and they did their job. You come as one, but you stand as 10,000. Your ancestors are there for you too. I told y'all, baby, August Wilson did his big one with the piano lesson, and the Washington family did an excellent job with this film adaptation of it. It's important to note that there are so many beautiful Black cultural moments in this movie, so many Black spiritual moments in this movie, and so many Black woman empowerment moments in this film. Remember, and Tazaki Sean Gay said, somebody, anybody, sing a Black girl song. This film sings a Black girl song, even in this shot.
The Piano Lesson is arguably his most famous creation. Set in 1936, its relevance persists.
The themes have endured in a way that some days you're saddened by or disheartened by, but there's also such themes of persistence and resilience, resistance.
What's exciting too about August Wilson, and could be looked at as unfortunate, is the relevancy of a subject matter, of the capturing a very specific experience in the African-American way of life and interactions and its relationship to the country. And what is beautiful about this film and this filmmaker is his perspective on old school ways of thinking and problems that we still have, and a new lens on like racism, and the new lens on upward mobility of the Black folks and the migration and those kinds of themes that we've seen in films before, know in story, but we get to see it differently. It opens up the words cinematically in a visual way, so you feel the intensity and the weight of these characters.
In the film, we see a Black American family trying to banish the painful legacy and history of slavery. In America more widely, what does that exorcism look like, trying to shake off that original sin?
What does it look like?
Yeah.
Rap music. Some of these athletes out here, the way they express themselves. I think you see it in poetry, you see it in authors, you see it in the things that we do, this film thing. It's in forms of expression, the way we use the N-word now. I think it's funny, like how August writes, every N-word is properly placed. Like it's something that is just so specific to the personalities of the African-American experience.
That's your family. That's your blood.
John David Washington plays Boy Willie, a dreamer who wants to sell the family heirloom stolen from their family's slave masters. That piano is haunted by the past. It's a timely metaphor for a country where some American civil rights laws have now been rolled back, and in this upcoming election, where race is once again at the forefront. Do you feel that the themes and the kind of history of racism and the backlash against things we're seeing, like affirmative action and schemes to create justice for African Americans, does that make this election even more urgent when you think about the themes in the film?
Yeah, I think every election is urgent.
What to say?
Yeah, I think there's an urgency necessary in all of it, and it's actually a topic that is much bigger than just American history. I see it over here too. What I've seen is a little bit of distance. People put in between, oh, that's an American issue. Slavery is an American issue. That's a part of American history and the Black American experience. When it's actually not. It's a much bigger issue that everybody's implicated in. And I think it's been interesting to see some of these productions come over here and try to engage that audience here and say, hey, are you ready to talk about your history? Are you ready to talk about yourself? Are you ready to look at this mirror? And there's a little reluctance there, but there's a great challenging moment that's happening right now. And our election is a catalyst for that. But it's been interesting seeing that challenge be put in front of you lot here and say, hey,
you lot.
and say, hey, can you deal with, are you ready for this conversation?
Thinking about Boy Willie, he's talking about his American right. I mean, Malcolm X said, white is like it's a state of mind, really, and he's thinking, he says in the play, ain't no difference in being a white man. So he's trying to purchase land and cultivate it into generational wealth, the very land that his family suffered on. I mean, that's his American right, to his point. So like, as far as elections, it's our American right to vote and our American right to be active in that way because of our history and how we even came to vote in the first place.
So you're both award-winning, award-nominated artists, but you come from a dynasty. Your parents are very significant actors. have you found that that has helped or hindered the way that you are received as artists?
How we receive, it's hard to tell right now. I feel like I've got so much to learn and I got so much to do.
I'm very, very proud of my family. I'm proud that I was raised by people with strong identity and who they are, a consciousness and a code of conduct and code of ethics that they stand on and instilled in us. I'm new here, but I'm honored to be sitting with him and what we've all done together. It's been beautiful.
What would you say is the lesson of the piano lesson?
The lesson of the piano lesson: be proud of where you come from and know that you have the power, a complete autonomy over if you want to change that or you want to, build on it to grow it.
Bong bong.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Interruptions. We will proceed. Is someone's more post? Oh, Will, they sent it to the wrong place.
Sharecropping. B.W. Kilburn/Library. Sharecropping is a type of farming in which families rent small plots of land from a landowner in return for a portion of their crop, to be given to the landowner at the end of each year. Different types of sharecropping have been practiced worldwide for centuries, but with the Southern economy in disarray after the abolition of slavery and the devastation of the Civil War, sharecropping enabled landowners to re-establish a labor force, while giving poor whites and freed black people a means of subsistence. About 2/3 of sharecroppers were white, and 1/3 were black. The system severely restricted the economic mobility of the laborers, leading to conflicts during the Reconstruction era. 40 acres and a mule. During the final months of the Civil War, tens of thousands of freed enslaved people left their plantations to follow the victorious Union Army troops of General William T. Sherman across Georgia and the Carolinas. In January 1865, in an effort to address the issues caused by this growing number of refugees, Sherman issued Special Field Order No. 15, a temporary plan granting each freed family 40 acres of land on the islands and coastal region of Georgia. The Union Army also donated some of its mules, unneeded for battle purposes, to the former enslaved people. Did you know? In 1870, only around 30,000 African Americans in the South owned land, usually small plots, compared with 4 million others who did not. When the war ended 3 months later, many freed blacks saw the 40 acres and a mule policy as proof that they would finally be able to work their own land after years of servitude. Owning land was the key to economic independence and autonomy. Instead, as one of the first acts of Reconstruction, President Andrew Johnson ordered all land under federal control to be returned to its previous owners in the summer of 1865. The Freedmen's Bureau, created to aid millions of former enslaved people in the post-war era, had to inform the newly free men and women that they could either sign labor contracts with planters or be evicted from the land they had occupied. Those who refused or resisted were eventually forced out by U.S. Army troops. Black codes. In the early years of Reconstruction, most black people living in rural areas of the South were left without land and forced to work as laborers on large white-owned farms and plantations in order to earn a living. Many clashed with former owners bent on re-establishing a gang labor system similar to the one that prevailed under slavery. In an effort to regulate the labor force and reassert white supremacy in the South, legislatures in former Confederate states soon passed restrictive laws denying black people legal equality or political rights, and created black codes that forced the formerly enslaved to sign yearly labor contracts or be arrested and jailed for vagrancy. These black codes provoked a fierce resistance among the freedmen and undermined support in the North for President Johnson's Reconstruction policies. A Republican victory in the congressional elections of 1866 led to the passage of the Reconstruction Acts in 1867, beginning a new phase of Reconstruction. During this period, the passage of the 14th Amendment and the 15th Amendment granted Black Americans the right to vote, equality before the law and other rights of citizenship, although those rights would continue to be denied by a number of legal and economic devices in the era of Jim Crow laws and segregation. Rise of the sharecropping system. Despite giving Black Americans the rights of citizens, the federal government, and the Republican-controlled state governments formed during this phase of Reconstruction, took little concrete action to help freed Black people in their quest to own their own land. Instead of receiving wages for working an owner's land and having to submit to supervision and harsh discipline, most poor farm laborers preferred to rent land for a fixed payment. By the early 1870s, the system known as sharecropping had come to dominate agriculture across the South. Under this system, families would rent small plots of land, or shares, to work themselves. In return, they would give a portion of their crop to the landowner at the end of the harvest season. The system was used by white families as well as blacks. The majority of U.S. sharecroppers, about 2/3, were white, and in many areas of the rural South, only about 1/4 of white people owned land. King Cotton dethroned. The sharecropping system also locked much of the South into a reliance on cotton just at a time when the price for cotton was plunging. In addition, while sharecropping gave poor farm laborers some autonomy in their daily work and social lives, and freed them from the gang labor system that had dominated during the slavery era, it often resulted in sharecroppers owing more to the landowner, for the use of tools and other supplies, for example, than they were able to repay. Some sharecroppers managed to acquire enough money to move from sharecropping to renting or owning land by the end of the 1860s, but many more went into debt or were forced by poverty or the threat of violence to sign unfair and exploitative sharecropping or labor contracts that left them little hope of improving their situation. Although both poor whites and blacks lacked much social or economic mobility, sharecroppers started to organize for better pay and working conditions, and the racially integrated Southern Tenant Farmers Union, formed in the 1930s during the Great Depression, began to exercise some bargaining power. But by the 1940s, with increased mechanization and better paying jobs in urban areas, sharecropping began to disappear in the United States, though some form of it still exists in a handful of areas. Sharecropping is routinely practiced today in a few countries such as Bangladesh, Ghana, Zimbabwe, India, and Pakistan. The short-lived promise of 40 acres and a mule. As the Civil War was ending, recently freed black people were promised land to start independent lives, but Lincoln's assassination led to that plan's demise. Read more. How slavery became the economic engine of the South. Slavery was so profitable, it sprouted more millionaires per capita in the Mississippi River Valley than anywhere in the nation. Read more. Reconstruction, a timeline of the post-Civil War era. For a 14-year period.
And that's why the guy was trying to get the piano so he can pay, so he can own a little piece of land, you know. But it's like you see at the end of the movie, you see that how the white owners got the land. He didn't get the piano, and he didn't get the land. So he might have been tilling on another land, on somebody else's land. So that's why I play this one, really, because it's all linked together, that story. If people don't know about the sharecropping and all that stuff that's going on. Now, as for the Chain Gang song, which I played, Birthday, I think.
Prison and Chain Gang songs. In the late 1950s, ethnomusicologist Professor Dr. Harry Oster made a series of field recordings at state penitentiaries in Louisiana. This collection focuses on the type of prison work songs sung by inmates performing physically demanding labor. Of note is a version of the African American ballad John Henry sung by a trio with Robert Pete Williams, and 2 songs sung by Odia Matthews, a female inmate at the state penitentiary in Angola. The liner notes are written by Dr. Oster. http:// Negro Prison Songs / Old Alabama 1947 Rare. Pete and Toshi Seeger, their son Daniel, and folklorist Bruce Jackson.
Yeah, sorry, it's interruptions today. So there's loads of spaces within this live, but it's all good. If I have to edit it, that's fine, because I think I made my point. By showing the lady, she explained it better than I could. So I just thought I'd use her, because when she explained it, I said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm feeling. And like I said, when I was singing, that's what I can hear. Because when I went and researched the song, I found that it was from a chain gang. It's a chain gang song. So that's why I played the chain gang music and what's it about, because, like, you know, sometimes it's good to know about these things. I don't know. I just like information, I'm sorry. But yeah, so with that said, I am actually going to come off. I'm not going to prolong it too long, because I know some people don't have a short attention span. Even if you watch it in parts, it makes sense. Like, I mean, like, you can watch the video in parts, come back, go away, come back. If you're into information like me, right, you'll understand why I try to get the information, because I see certain stuff and then I have to add it into it. You know what I mean? I don't think I can explain it good in a video as she did. So that's why I let her play. That's why I let Mama Pooh talk instead of me. Yeah. So with that said, I will leave it right there. So thank you, Leonard, for coming through. And I'll be doing the other one on the next channel. Not now, not today, because, like, you know, yeah, I'll just do it as I can, because I know people are celebrating stuff in the Americas right now, and I'll see you in the next one. So please take care. All right, bye.